The film starts with Ryan Logan, a highly skilled sniper who served in a special military team. He is trusted by his teammates for his sharp aim, always watching over them from a distance. However, when his fellow soldiers make mistakes, Ryan is often forced to fight the enemy face-to-face to protect his comrades. Now, in the present day, Ryan has retired from the military due to injuries he suffered on his missions. He spends his days teaching his son, Billy, how to hunt, hoping to pass on the skills he learned in the army. But Billy isn't interested in hunting or killing. Instead, he chooses to set the animals free, showing he doesn't have the same desire to shoot like his father. Ryan notices this, but he isn't disappointed. In fact, he understands Billy's feelings. He no longer wants to be the kind of person who kills, like he had to be in the military. When Ryan and Billy get back home, they're welcomed by Justine, Ryan's wife. She worries about Billy's safety during the hunt. Justine is pregnant with their second child, which makes Ryan even more protective of his family. He starts waking up early every day to prepare breakfast for Justine and Billy, taking on her usual tasks so she can rest. Later, after finishing his chores at home, Ryan heads to the military base where he now trains young soldiers. His colleague, Johnny, mentions that their boss made a mistake by putting Ryan in a training role instead of keeping him in combat because of his incredible sniping skills. But Ryan has already decided that his days as a sniper are behind him. He simply smiles at Johnny's words, content with his choice to leave the battlefield. Meanwhile, Justine is driving Billy to school when a reckless driver crashes into them, leaving them both severely injured. Ryan and Johnny rush to the hospital as soon as they hear the news. There, they are faced with heartbreaking information. Justine and Billy have lost a lot of blood and urgently need transfusions. The doctors also inform Ryan that they couldn't save Justine's unborn child. Ryan is devastated. He finds out that his blood type matches both Justine and Billy, meaning he has to make an unbearable choice, to save one and let the other go. After agonizing over the decision, Ryan chooses to give his blood to Billy, letting Justine pass away. He knows deep down that Justine would have wanted him to focus on their son. Even though it breaks his heart, Ryan stays strong, knowing that he needs to be there for Billy. At the same time, Johnny witnesses Ryan's pain and takes matters into his own hands. He tracks down the driver who caused the crash, who is also in the hospital, and exacts revenge by kidnapping and torturing him. Years passed, and Ryan looked very different now, with his hair much longer, but his thoughts still often returned to his late wife, Justine. Meanwhile, Billy had grown into a rebellious teenager, getting into trouble with the law multiple times. A judge warned Ryan that if Billy messed up again, he would be sent to a social institution since it seemed like Ryan couldn't control him anymore. This made Ryan anxious, as he feared losing his only son. The next day, Ryan was called to the principal's office because Billy's school fees were overdue. On top of that, the school had run out of patience with Billy's behavior. The principal gave Ryan a short deadline to pay the fees, or Billy would be expelled from school. Later, Ryan met Johnny at a cafe. Both of them had been retired from the military for some time now. During their conversation, Johnny offered Ryan a job that promised a lot of money. However, Ryan knew the job was illegal, so he politely declined. Despite his financial struggles, Ryan was satisfied working as a salesperson for a company, even though it didn't pay much. At home, Ryan and Billy didn't have a good relationship. They barely spoke to each other, and their connection seemed broken. After Ryan dropped Billy off at school one morning, he went to sell some of his goods to a customer. But the customer was rude and disrespectful, which made Ryan angry, so he gave him a stern warning before leaving. Frustrated, Ryan headed back home, and to his surprise, he found Johnny at his house, talking to Billy. Concerned about what Johnny might be saying to his son, Ryan quickly pulled Johnny aside to talk privately. Once again, Johnny offered him a job, this time as a sniper to steal money from drug dealers. Ryan was hesitant and refused at first. But with his financial situation getting worse, he felt trapped and eventually agreed, though he insisted he wouldn't kill anyone. When Ryan got home, he dug out his old weapons, which had been untouched for years. Instead of his sniper rifle, he chose to take a handgun, thinking it would be easier to conceal. Following Johnny's plan, the two of them robbed a drug dealer's safe, managing to steal a few $100s in cash. However, What they didn't realize was that a young boy at the hideout had sent a message to his brother, warning him about the robbery. Fortunately, Johnny knew the area well, and they were able to slip away without getting caught. Afterward, Johnny and Ryan celebrated their success. Johnny mentioned that this might be the last time they saw each other since they had made plenty of money from the heist. He then handed Ryan some cash, enough to cover Billy's overdue school fees before parting ways. The next day, Ryan's life took another hit. His boss fired him after a customer complained about the way Ryan had handled the situation. Now, with no job and bills piling up, Ryan had no choice but to seek out Johnny for another illegal gig. Johnny, knowing how desperate Ryan was for money, offered him a more dangerous task. This time, Ryan needed to use his sniper skills to protect Johnny from a distance during a meeting with drug dealers. As Ryan prepared for the mission, Billy approached him, asking if he could go out with his friends. Ryan, preoccupied with the job at hand, gave him permission without thinking much about it, and continued getting ready. Soon after, Ryan positioned himself, watching Johnny from afar as he interacted with the drug dealers. Johnny instructed Ryan to keep an eye out and shoot anyone who seemed suspicious. During the meeting, the drug dealers accused Johnny of robbing their headquarters. But Johnny smoothly denied the accusations, and the situation didn't escalate. Ryan, though ready with his rifle, never had to pull the trigger. Meanwhile, Billy was out with his friends, having a good time. They drank alcohol and enjoyed themselves. Despite being intoxicated, Billy's friends pressured him into driving his parents' car. Against his better judgment, Billy agreed, and it wasn't long before things went terribly wrong. Back at the meeting, Ryan had just finished his mission when he got some distressing news. Billy had crashed the car, causing a lot of damage. Furious and worried, Ryan rushed to help, but he was growing frustrated with Billy's constant mistakes. He still hadn't managed to pay off Billy's school fees, and now they had to deal with the cost of repairing the car. When Billy finally made it home, he was filled with regret and guilt. The weight of his mistakes became too much for him, and he even thought about ending his life. Seeing his son in such a fragile state, Ryan put his anger aside and embraced him, offering comfort and support when Billy needed it most. Later, Ryan tried to make things right by apologizing to the car's owner and offering to pay for the damages. Unfortunately, the situation got more complicated. The car owner, who was a lawyer, demanded full compensation and even told Ryan that Billy could no longer be friends with his son. Now, with an even bigger financial burden hanging over him, Ryan once again turned to Johnny for help. This time, Johnny offered him a high-paying job as a hitman, targeting drug dealers who were after Johnny. Knowing how skilled Ryan was with a rifle, Johnny assured him it would be quick and profitable. Desperate and out of options, Ryan reluctantly agreed to take the illegal job. On the day of the mission, Ryan arrived 5 hours early to carefully study the area and plan his strategy. He analyzed the wind direction and the reflections from nearby glass, ensuring he wouldn't be spotted when the time came. When the gangsters finally showed up, ready to kill Johnny, Ryan was prepared. They demanded the money Johnny had stolen from their safe, holding him at gunpoint. But Johnny stayed calm and confident, knowing that Ryan was watching over him from a distance. Without hesitation, Ryan took out the gangsters one by one. However, more enemies soon arrived, searching for Johnny. Staying sharp, Ryan quickly reacted and prevented the next wave of attackers from getting to Johnny. Once the fight was over, Ryan left, leaving Johnny to deal with burying the bodies. The next day, the lawyer whose car Billy had damaged noticed Ryan lurking around the parking lot. Feeling uneasy, the lawyer quickly got into his car, but when he looked over, he was shocked to find Ryan already inside, threatening him. Terrified, the lawyer agreed to drop the issue with Billy in the car, just to escape the situation safely. Meanwhile, Johnny thought he was finally free from the danger of the gangsters. He celebrated in a house filled with loud music and drinks, enjoying his moment of relief. But the celebration didn't last long. A new group of thugs stormed in, determined to kill him. Fortunately, Johnny managed to defend himself and survive the attack. Even after this, Johnny realized he wasn't truly safe. The next day, he went to Ryan's house, pleading for help on another mission. This time, however, Ryan refused. Johnny, frustrated and furious, suddenly attacked Ryan. His plan was to kill Ryan and use him as the scapegoat for all the robberies and murders he had committed. Forced into a fight, Ryan had no choice but to defend himself. Just as the situation seemed dire, Billy appeared with Ryan's rifle and shot Johnny, stopping the fight. The film ends with Ryan and Billy sitting together in a park, talking and reconciling. They both seem happier and more at peace than before. The film ends. So the moral of the story is, turns out, family bonding is easier when you're dodging bullets and running from gangsters together.